Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on The Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to The Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault. Welcome to the Plus Sides. I still can't get my mic to work, so this is how we're going to roll.
It's okay.
Okay. I have a Mac, so I feel like there's been a lot less upsetness. It's got to do with my mic. I don't know. Anyway. Hey, everybody. If you're new here.
Hey, friends.
You're here. We're so glad to have you. I'm Kim.
Hello.
This is the Plus Sides Podcast. And this podcast started basically a year ago. And we've been coming to you every week where you are learning from people who are going through the same, diseases and disorders, that you deal with. And we've been learning from obesity specialists, endocrinologists, bariatric surgeons, dietitians, cognitive behavioral therapists, all the things, NPs, all the things, all the smart folk, help us learn so we can advocate for our health, because it's a new day and we need to be able to do that. And I have been taking a GLP-1 medication for 18 months. I've lost 100 pounds. I've completely changed my life. I am no longer being tortured by food noise. I'm able to move my body through this earth and enjoy my life. And it's become very full with you, with you guys, and being able to be with my friends and my family more. And it's been life-changing. And I think just once you've been sick and then you're better, you just can't shut up about it. So that's a little about me. And these are my two partners in crime here, or partners in health. I don't know.
You're first ladies, right? You're
the evangelist. First ladies. Oh,
you're the evangelist.
I can always count on you to come up with something fabulous. This is my first lady, Kat, and my first lady, JT. Kat, tell me who you are and why you're here. What's up?
I am Kat Carter, and I think this is going to be the new room. No more Prince stuff in the background. I just went upstairs to my husband's studio.
Did you cry? Era.
I know. Carpeting is so wonderful in here. No reverb. Can you hear me?
So yes.
Hi. My microphone actually works now then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
But I'm Kat Carter. Kat Carter 7 on the TikTok. I lost 70 pounds, give or take what day of the month it is, using Mounjaro for, let me do some math. No, I'm not going to do math. Since October 22.
Oh,
yeah.
October.
Yep. I'm a slow loser. I don't know if I'm going to lose any more weight. I'm going to just go ahead and work on being peaceful with it. If I'm going to be a 12 and a 14, that's what it's going to be. Sometimes it's nice to have a little cushion. I won't say for the rest of it.
I don't foresee being a skinny girl in it. I think it's okay though. As long as I'm healthy and happy, I don't really care. I'm much more secure in myself. I think
it's okay to have curves.
I like it. Yeah, it's fine.
Cholesterol down. A1C. Yeah. So I'm okay with this.
Life up.
I love it.
Life is upping. So
look at the fireworks.
StreamYard, you need to do it over here. And over where Olivia Pope is. Over there.
Man.
That's awesome. That was awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mounjaro is Mounjaroing. It's fantastic. 70 pounds.
Love it.
I'd say I still have binge eating disorder because he still lives back here, but he's under control. I hit a wall. Thank you, Mounjaro.
Thank you, Mounjaro, for the wall.
And that's it.
Thank you, First Lady Cat. First Lady JT / Janine / the E journey.
Olivia Pope.
Oh, yeah.
Olivia Pope.
You know,
He's in her Olivia Pope coat.
yeah. Okay, so you all know I love a good white blazer. Like, I
Me too.
love blazers, but I love a good white blazer. And I think my list of nicknames is continuing to grow. So it's JT, um, Olivia Pope, and one that Kim and Kat have christened me with, and the other members of the plus side crew, Thin Mint.
Thin Mint.
Thin Mint.
That's right. She's a Thin Mint. Lil bathing.
I keep getting called Thin Mint.
Yeah,
Thin Mint, like on TikTok, I'm called
Thin Mints.
Yeah. Everyone
Mint.
calls
It's
me
okay.
Thin Mint now.
Yeah.
I'm like, where did that come from? But I kind of like it because I like the Thin Mints.
Like, who wouldn't like a Thin Mint? Yeah.
Right. Okay. But I'm JT, and I love to help people thrive on these medications.
Sure does.
I have type 2 diabetes and an autoimmune disease and a whole bunch of other stuff, but that doesn't define me. But I will say Mounjaro, that wonderful, wonderful, wonderful drug, has changed my life, just like it's changed Kat's life and Kim's life and so many other lives. It has completely changed my life. My anxiety is down, my A1C is under control, the obesity is under control, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff that's under control. So thank you.
Control. That's what's key, right?
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
I have to mention one more thing because I promised.
Oh gosh.
What does that say? Cottage cheese? Oh, we don't want to say it on the YouTubes.
No, just a cottage cheese supporter. Cottage cheese supporter.
Let me tell you something, Kat, and I'm about to say this on the internets.
No.
That ziti you made me, that gluten-free ziti you made me, and you made it with cottage cheese instead. Girl, I am having a hard time going to the bathroom with all that dairy. And I had that under control.
Protein.
And now my body's
protein.
Oh God. But there's a lot of protein it was, and it was good.
Yeah.
And I ate it made 3 meals that food. That was good.
Yeah, it made a lot of eating.
Poop is a thing. It's totally natural.
So
Sometimes we
good.
have to talk about poop. It's fine.
It's okay. It's okay.
It
Thanks,
was
Reverie
so
Boutique, for the
good.
t-shirt.
Yeah,
Yes.
cute.
We love Reverie Boutique.
We
Doesn't she
do.
just make like the best designs?
She really does.
She does. This was a user submission too. It wasn't, somebody recommended that special word.
Okay.
Wasn't me.
Mine says GLP-1
Okay.
good luck pooping. That's the one I recommended. And it has a giant poop emoji on it.
Oh, gosh.
But Kimberly's the one that said that. And I was like, oh, I have to get it. And immediately after I told her, she made the shirt. So
It was awesome.
I have it. It's like a hoodie. Okay.
Oh my
That's the
gosh.
show. Okay. So today, so if you guys don't know, we focused a lot in the beginning around like really obesity. And then it was like, wait, metabolic disorders. And then it was like, wait, food noise. And it was like, wait, what about the mental piece of all of this? And we just kept learning more and more and more things. We are fully a health and wellness podcast now. And truthfully, there are people that cannot get these medications. Like it is horrible that they cost what they cost, that the availability is an issue. And it's awful that many people cannot benefit from the therapy, frankly. But there are other things, that we want to be able to talk about, things that, times of shortage, so that you can feel like you've got some control. And we want to make sure that we're giving you all the resources and knowledge that we can. And so it's just not always about GLP-1. Now, I know that's the first time you've ever heard me say that, but it's just not. Like we've just learned, I know, dare I? But we've just learned a lot, guys. Like it's wonderful. And of course it's what we want. But guys, I think we're years away from being able to have this be affordable and accessible for the majority of America that struggles with, I have saying insulin resistance, obesity, type 2 diabetes. I mean, we're very far, still. So we need to learn. Okay. So we're going to talk about all the things. We're going to bring on all the medical professionals to help us out so that we can advocate for our health in however way we need to, So speaking of, one of my favorite TikTokers is our guest tonight. Let me invite her in. Dr. E.
What's up,
Dr.
Dr.
E, the NP with the PhD. And your voice sounds like butter. I love it. When I listen to your TikToks, it's like butter. I'm just like,
you do have a great voice.
That's so fun. Everyone says it. I never knew until I hit TikTok. So
yeah, it's awesome. Well, we're so glad to have you here.
Thank you. I was just enjoying being in the waiting room and enjoying the talk. That was great.
It's funny because our regulars are like, guys, you don't have to tell us who you are every episode. I'm like, yeah, we do, because every episode we get new people, So
that's amazing. God bless. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. It is amazing. So for people that don't know you, which is madness, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you help people.
Sure. So my name is Dr. E, and I empower people to realize that their symptoms are not in their head, right? So, because so many people in your sphere and in my sphere are going from medical provider being told that, oh, you're fine. Maybe it's your age. Maybe it's your weight. Maybe you're just stressed. What do you expect? You're in menopause, and just kind of like whisked away under one of those. And there's an insinuation and sometimes an outright diagnosis that it's in your head. And it's a form of medical gaslighting. I don't think it's malicious. I think it's from a lack of knowledge on the part of many of the providers. But I'm here to let people know that they're not crazy and it's not in their head.
Love it. One of my most favorite TikToks of yours that I was mentioning, I share every time it comes across my feed again. I repost it, I duet it, I stitch it, I download it, and I make sure that you're tagged in it so people will go to the video. Like, I do all the things, and TikTok punishes me, but I don't care because it's my favorite. And it's the one where you talk about what insulin resistance actually is. And because many of us struggle with that, with obesity and type 2 diabetes, but we don't necessarily understand it. It's complicated. And the way that you explain it is just ways that we can understand it. And believe it or not, I learned that from you, a way to oversimplify. And I have a viral TikTok with 1 million views because I said, let me tell you what I've learned from doctors that come on my show. And this is what insulin resistance is and why it's a big deal and why these medications can help treat it. And why it's not in your head. It's not your fault. You're a sick person. You need therapy, medicine, care, whatever that equals, right? So if you would, could you explain what insulin resistance is to us in your own way? It doesn't have to be exact, even though.
No, absolutely. I'll explain insulin resistance. And then I think once we understand that, we can also understand how these medications work.
Yeah.
And then we can also understand what we need to do if we don't have access to the medication. So I think it's really important.
Me too.
So insulin resistance, everything we eat, almost everything we eat, breaks down into glucose, into sugar, right? And so then the sugar has to get into the cell because the cells need the sugar. That's their fuel. That's how they fill up. So we eat the sugar, and then insulin behaves like Uber, and it picks up the sugar and it drives it over to the cell. And the cell is like, thank you so much. This is amazing. I've been looking all over for the sugar. Thank you so much. And then we have another snack, or it doesn't have to be something bad, and another banana or whatever. We have more than we need. And it's important to say more than we need. It doesn't mean you're overeating. It's more than you need, but maybe you're genetically have a lower threshold. So you have more than you need. And so insulin picks it up, right? The Uber picks it up, brings it to the cell, and the cell says, no, thanks. I'm good. I don't want any more. And insulin's like, but I have all the sugar for you. And the cell says, no, thank you. So now this is literally the definition of insulin resistance. The cell is resistant to the insulin, to what the insulin is bringing. So now what happens? So now insulin is kind of stuck carrying this sugar. And it's like, what do I do? What do I do? The body tries for a really long time not to drop the sugar in the blood. The minute it drops the sugar in the blood, fingers stick high, you have diabetes, right? We don't want that. So the body will try for many, many years to compensate. So one of the things it does is it stores it into fat. That's where we get the belly fat from. It starts to store it in cholesterol. So you will see elevated cholesterol before you see diabetes. it will start to enlarge your liver. So you'll see that fatty liver. So now this is really important because you will be in a state of insulin resistance. You go to your doctor and they'll say, hey, your cholesterol's a little high, but your A1C is good. You're fine. Oh, you know what? You have fatty liver, but your A1C is good. And so what we've come to appreciate is that this A1C that we think is such an important marker in pre-diabetes, it could take years of insulin resistance before that A1C even shifts. So you could be walking around 5.6, 5.7 A1C, your belly's getting bigger, your liver's getting bigger, your cholesterol is getting bigger. All of that is a sign that you're in the state of insulin resistance, but nothing's happening medically. There's no intervention until that A1C shifts. I'm not talking about the off-label use of these medications where it's just for weight, but until that A1C shifts, there's no intervention. There's no conversation about insulin resistance until they're like, oh, your A1C is 5.9, it's 6.0, you should start watching. But we should have started watching, we should have started having this conversation way back when, before the A1C shifts. So that is kind of like, a quick overview of what insulin resistance is.
Wow.
Love it.
I have a question about that with insulin resistance.
Please.
Why does it make you so hungry? You know how like they say if you struggle with insulin resistance, we tend to have a higher appetite? Is that accurate?
Um,
Or
so I'm not sure if you have a higher appetite because of the insulin resistance. So there's appetite and hunger has so many, there's so many issues there. We also have the emotional component. Am I hungry? Am I not hungry? Am I soothing? There's a lot of soothing that happens with eating as well. But in reality, even though you're eating all this stuff, it's not actually getting into the cell. So there could be a conversation about your body saying, oh, we're still hungry. We still need to eat.
okay, that makes so much sense. Okay.
Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what happens in the state of insulin resistance is that it starts affecting a lot of things. And it starts affecting things that, not just weight, but it starts affecting our hormones also. This is where the conversation of PCOS comes in. Sorry if I'm jumping the gun, but I can't help myself.
No, I was just about to ask you. Let's do it.
PCOS comes in. So
Jump.
yeah, we were good.
Yeah, jump.
So PCOS, this makes me so angry. So once a week, I still practice primary care. The rest of the time, I'm in the new method. And so I'll have so many young women, in their kind of age where maybe they're considering having children. And they're saying, hey, I just went to the GYN and I got diagnosed with this disease called PCOS. And I'm like, and they gave me this medication. I'm like, do you know what PCOS is? And they're like, well, so I don't know. I'm having trouble with my period and I have some facial hair and I think my testosterone's high, but I don't really know. And I'm like, no, PCOS is insulin resistance. It is insulin resistance. I want you to start thinking of it as a pre-diabetes. Because the minute you understand it as a pre-diabetes, you can actually get ahead of it, right? So why does that happen? So back to the insulin resistance. So now we have all the sugar up, but we also have a lot of insulin in the body because the body just keeps trying. You bring in more sugar, I'm going to give you more insulin, and the cells are just like, no, thank you, right? So when this insulin is just kind of floating around, it does things. And one of the things it does is it sends a message to the ovaries to start producing testosterone. It's an error. It starts producing testosterone, and it also messes with the ovaries, so they start creating cystic follicles instead of good follicles. So now you have more testosterone, and you have polycystic. Some of us have polycystic. You actually have cysts. Not everyone does. It's a spectrum. And now you also have a mess with your estrogen and progesterone levels. So you go to the gynecologist saying, hey, my period's not regular. Hey, I have all this facial hair. But what you're seeing is actually the end result of insulin resistance. So they say, here's the pill. The pill is going to regulate your period. It does, but it didn't really fix anything. It just got you a regular period, but you're still insulin resistant. Or here's spironolactone. That's a medication that's given for hair, but that really didn't solve anything. Or here's metformin. And people think metformin is a PCOS medication. It's not. It's an insulin resistance medication, right? So that one's a little bit helping the root cause because it's bringing the insulin resistance. But we're led to believe, so many women are believe, oh, I have a hormonal problem. Well, you do have a hormonal problem, but insulin is the hormone that is at play. And later, the sex hormones get involved.
That's fascinating.
Yes.
I wish someone had said that to
Oh my
me
gosh.
a zillion years ago when I was like having miscarriages and stuff, and the like that would have been incredible. But instead, they were just like, you need to lose weight, because you are carrying extra hormones like in your fat. But nobody ever tested me. Nobody ever said, let's try something. Nobody ever did. Nobody even ever gave me metformin. They were just like, just go lose some weight, you know.
That would make
Mhm.
sense if only heavy people had fertility issues.
I know.
There's plenty of thin people who
That
have
part.
fertility issues,
I
right?
know, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. There definitely are.
And
Yeah.
thin, and I'm saying the word thin just because for
Yeah.
reference, but
Right.
and thinner people who also have PCOS.
Yes.
And I also have thinner people who have diabetes.
Yeah.
So insulin resistance, yes, there is some association, with weight gain as well, but you don't have to gain it because weight gain is a calorie conversation.
Right.
So I certainly have people who are thinner who are consuming most of their calories in carbs. So
Yeah.
they're thin, but they're having a carb overload. And so
Yeah.
they may not look the part, but it's not the heaviness that's doing this. It's the
Yeah.
carb that's doing it. It's the insulin conversation that's doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry you went through that. And I
Yeah.
do see a lot of patients in the new method, the functional, where they're like, I wish I knew this before. I might have had children, or I might have made different decisions. I mean, we don't
Right.
want to live in regret, of course,
Yeah.
but
Right.
there is a lot of misinformation or lack of information.
Yes. Both, actually.
Yeah.
Like, right? I think it's both. And I do think with PCOS specifically, like that is one that's like very like a gaslight type of conversation. Like we've had a couple endocrinologists on the show, and one of them in particular said it takes on average about 5 years to get a diagnosis for PCOS, which is like blew my mind.
Yeah, because the problem is it's God, no, I'm getting into a topic that I love to talk about, which is
Do it.
Okay.
We're
the
very open.
problem of conventional medicine is the problem.
Yeah.
And the problem
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the problem is that in conventional medicine, which is lovely, of course I still practice it. It's amazing. I want it. We need it, of
It's
course.
just not the only thing.
But it starts at the point of an abnormal value.
Yeah.
Right? If your A1C is high, I can help you out. If you have high blood pressure, I can help you out. If you meet the criteria for PCOS, I can help you out. But if you're in this pre-state or in this cooking state,
Yeah.
conventional medicine has no tools for you. And that's why you have to wait around. Journey mentioned earlier before we got on that she has some autoimmune issues.
Yeah.
That's why autoimmune takes so much time to diagnose also, because your lab markers, by the time they're positive, you've already had the disease for like 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am just,
Mhm.
I can't even really speak right now because everything that you said just within 10 minutes, if I would have known this almost 10 years ago, 10 to 15 years ago, I may not be full blown type 2, someone with full blown type 2 diabetes right now. I had never heard of insulin resistance. I had never had diabetes medication education. I didn't know. I relied, and I, still do my due diligence. But when you just don't know, you don't know. And um, I also have Sjogren's syndrome. I didn't understand what was going on with my body. My joints and my muscles ached. Like it hurt for me to get out of the bed. I didn't understand what was going on. I thought I was just working too hard. I was a new flight attendant. I was working crazy hours. Well, I still work crazy hours, but I was really working crazy hours then. And then I also ended up having cyst
Yeah.
down there. I had fibroids.
They hurt so bad.
I I would be driving and I would have to pull over. Come to find out, the placement of my fibroids were right in the middle of my uterus, and so my body thought I was giving birth, that I needed to push something out. So come to find out, I was having contractions. And I'm like, what? I was given the pill That didn't work. I never was, metformin. It was just like, okay. And now it makes sense. The hair on the chin. I started getting little hairs right here. I just thought it was a part of aging. And I wish that I would have known about functional medicine. I'm such a proponent of it. I always, Kim, Kat, and I always say it's Western medicine is not everything. I Eastern medicine, Western medicine, functional medicine. I'm
Oh,
so grateful for you all. And if I just if I would have known, I probably may not be someone that has type 2 diabetes right now. It's very hard for me to still say type 2 diabetes. It's still hard. I think a lot of people think that a person with type 2 diabetes has carte blanche to GLP-1 medications and, oh, we can just take insulin. And it's so much more complex with that. Even with telehealth providers, even if I see my doctor telehealth, I have to go in because of the complexity of diabetes. They can't just see me telehealth all the time. That's why when COVID was at the
Mhm.
at its height, they said this is a medical pandemic, a medical emergency, because we have to see people with diabetes. We have to see, we like have to see you. We can't just go on this. We have to see you. And I just thank you for, opening the conversation. I apologize for getting emotional, but
Oh,
I just wish I would have known. I just wish I would have known. And I possibly would not have to be on a medication, maybe for a very long time. This is the first time that my glucose has been controlled. The first time I was walking around with a rising A1C.
Junior, I just want to say that I'm sorry. I know that you're feeling you wish you knew, but at the same time, Janine, you wouldn't be here empowering so many other people if you didn't experience this. So you have a purpose in what you're dealing with, and you're empowering so many people. So hopefully that helps you. There is a design. At least that's what I believe.
yeah.
Divine
That
timing.
always tells us divine timing.
I
Yeah.
believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I
I
struggle a
do
lot
believe
when we
that.
talk about fertility and stuff. And, you know, like I wish I'd had more children. And I feel like if somebody had talked to me about this, I was very lucky to even get one. If someone had talked to me about this earlier and I could maybe have done different things, then maybe I'd have a bigger family, because now my son's 11 and he's needs me a lot less, and that hurts. Like, it's very wonderful and it's magical and special and all the things, but it's my very favorite thing, being a mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I know.
it's sad to think that he needs me less and less. So I try not to talk about it a lot, but it's hard not to.
I have 3 that are either
Oh,
post college or in college. So
oh
I get
my gosh. So really,
Oh,
they don't need you.
wow.
I'm just kidding.
it.
Yeah, so it's, I'm trying to hang on to it. We try to
But
do
but
it together, but
But ladies, there is a reason right now for this podcast. There is a reason. There are people listening to us right now. I put so much stuff on YouTube, and every so often, and sometimes, like you said, Janine, sometimes you're tired and you're whatever, and you'll see a message from somebody in a different state, in a different country, who'll say, "Your video changed my life." I listen, and I don't even know which video it is sometimes. Your video changed my life. Because of you, I learned this.
Mhm.
And everyone here we are touching so many lives, right? That is ultimately the mission. And
it is.
I hope and I know that it doesn't last all the time, but in these moments, I hope you can hold on to that, because I know you get the same kind of texts that I do. I know
We
you
Mhm.
get the same comments, like,
we
"Thank
do,
you for
we
this
did.
podcast. Thank you for this
Yeah.
session." So
Incredible. I
yeah,
think, like, when we started it, I don't know what the hell we were doing, but I knew we needed to do it. I felt
I
very
don't
led
I don't know
that
now.
it needed to happen, and the girls obviously were, like, on board, which is great. It's nice to have PICs. But it's like we do get messages every week, several independently, but also on the podcast, about, I heard you say this and that sounded like me and I went to go see my doctor, or
Exactly.
I started this journey and now I'm feeling better now and my A1C is better now,
Mhm.
and all of these different things because I heard you, whoever, say blank. And it's just like you said, like you never know what's going to land with people, but we just want them to be able to get the help that they need, whatever shape that's in.
And
So
we wouldn't do that if it wasn't for all the what ifs that would landed
true.
us right here, right now.
That's
It's
very true.
true.
Yes, it's very
Yes.
true.
Yeah. Holy moly.
Holy
Yes.
moly.
Holy moly.
Connected.
Holy moly.
Yes.
It's really,
All
um,
right.
I see your
All
next
right.
question and I can
Yeah, I got
answer
that. We're
it.
gonna get in track. Yeah.
So
So,
I can go in a
of course,
different direction.
let's do it. We're in the middle of the GLP-1 shortage, right? A lot of us can't get that medication. So, of course, like what Kim mentioned earlier, what are some of the nutritional supports that we can use, supplements, anything that we can do to support those that live with insulin resistance and other things. And also, we're curious. Are you familiar with Ozempic? What is that? If you're not, then we don't have to talk about that. But I had to like Ozempic. Anyway, but most importantly, the supplements and nutrition. What can we do to help support a good good GLP-1?
Let's start with the easy one. Ozempic is nonsense. Ozempic for anyone listening. Oat with a T, not Ozempic.
Ozempic. Oat, like
It's
oatmeal,
nonsense.
which is it's oatmeal.
It's just
Oh,
oatmeal, and that's really not going to help you out here.
yeah. Can't oatmeal kind of
Yeah,
spike
it could
your
spike your
insulin?
sugar. I mean, it's
Okay.
just maybe because it sounds like Ozempic, and like I don't know where that came from, but no. Maybe if that's the only thing you're eating all day and you're starving yourself, maybe that's how these people lost weight. But no, that's just a no. It's just a hard no. Period. Full stop. Okay. So, and and that's cruel. It's cruel because some people, you know, might think that, oh, this is a way to do it, and it actually can worsen their diabetes. So I think it's cruel. We are in a position where it takes me so much. You'll see a 3-minute TikTok. It'll take me hours to put that together. I want to make sure I put good quality vetted information out there. I'm constantly asked to promote things. So far, I've only promoted one thing because I'm like, I have to make sure 100% where is it going, where's the factory, like what's happening,
Mhm.
And so to say something like that, Ozempic, and someone who maybe can't get Ozempic now is going to try this and actually raise their A1C. Like I think it's not okay. So let's start with that one.
It's not okay.
It's not okay.
Not okay, people.
It's not okay. Now, what to do if you can't get any of the GLP-1s? To answer that question, let's just take a moment to understand how the GLP-1s, how Mounjaro and Wegovy and all those work. So we talked about insulin resistance, right? So the insulin's bringing the sugar into the cells, trying to get into the cells. So what GLP-1s do is they do two things. One, they raise a little bit more insulin, but that doesn't really make sense because then they could just take insulin, right? If insulin was the answer,
Mhm.
then why do we need this? So the other thing that GLP-1 does is it tries to make the cell more sensitive, insulin sensitive. It tells the cell, hey, try to accept a little bit more. Okay. So it changes its borders around it. It makes the wall a little bit more permeable to let more sugar in. It also does two more things. So when things are without medication, where you take your insulin and you eat your sugar, I'm not taking insulin, you eat your sugar, insulin goes up. And then when sugar drops, your liver will automatically create its own source of sugar. So the other thing that the GLP-1 does is it doesn't let liver create sugar. So when there's no sugar, if you're between meals or sleeping, it won't let the liver make more. Okay, so that's the other thing it does, which insulin doesn't do. And then the feel full effect is that it tells your belly, it slows your belly's motility down. It doesn't let the food go as fast. So you ate something, it sits in the belly longer, so you feel full longer. It hasn't emptied. Okay, so it's working by in those ways. So if we can make our bellies feel a little bit fuller and we can make our cells a little bit more sensitive, well, then we're kind of doing what GLP-1 does. So if we can't get GLP-1, this would be a lovely way to do it. And mind you, I would also recommend to do this if you're on GLP-1. In general, when any of my patients are on medication, let's just say you're on blood pressure medication, I say, let's put the lifestyle modifications in also. And maybe one day we can have a conversation about coming off of this. Maybe yes, maybe no. But it's especially with GLP-1, what happens if suddenly you don't have it? You didn't put in these
Mhm.
lifestyle
Mhm.
modifications. But as you maybe titrate down or maybe come off, now your lifestyle modifications are kind of ready and set. So these are either way, whether you're trying to come off of it or considering coming off of it, or you don't have access to it. So one of the easiest, I won't say easy, nothing's easy. One of the simplest ways to get your cells to be more insulin resistant is with intermittent fasting. I mean, insulin sensitive, sorry, not resistant. Intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting is a little scary for people. It's like, fasting, what do you mean I'm not going to eat for 16 hours? That sounds like a really long time. And it is at first. The first time I tried intermittent fasting, I was one of those people who, as soon as I woke up, I had to eat. Otherwise, I'd get jittery. So the thought of intermittent fasting, I was like, what are you talking about? But as I learned what it does for our cells, what it does for insulin sensitivity, but also what it does for inflammation. Janine was talking about inflammation, and what it does for Alzheimer's prevention, what it does for hormonal regulation. I realized this is something I need to do. Notice I did not say for weight loss. I tell my clients all the time, I don't care what your weight is. If we can get your inflammation down, we can get your symptoms down. Maybe you lose weight, maybe you don't. I certainly have thin people who are really, really unwell, and I have heavier people who maybe we lost 2 pounds, but their symptoms are gone. So intermittent fasting is not for that. Some people do lose weight, but I just want to take the weight conversation out of that. Kat, earlier you even mentioned I lost weight, and I'm size this, and who cares? You feeling great? Like, who cares? Your symptoms are better. Like,
I need that.
you said, oh, I'm trying to be okay with 12-14. I wish I could curse, but we're going to be on YouTube. But if I would curse otherwise, who effing cares? Okay. If your symptoms are better, right? Sorry, I digress. So intermittent fasting, if we can, it will make your cells more sensitive to insulin. So when you're starting to eat, so during the time that you're eating, it's not just that you ate less calories, it's also you just made your cells more sensitive. So when that insulin is released, you'll have more uptake. So it actually helps you in the same way that the GLP-1s do. Now, of course, GLP-1 happens, one big dose, but that is something to consider to mimic what's actually happening. We're trying to create this insulin sensitivity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's cool.
I have a question on top of that.
Yes,
because
I love it.
I
I've
do it on
tried this.
accident, and it's so great because the medicine actually helps me be able to do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it before.
Yeah. It helps do that.
Well, I know we're not going to touch on that, but I know that binge eating would sometimes, trying to fast would put me in the danger zone. But I feel like with the GLP-1 therapy, I'm sorry, I saw the concern in your face.
No, I'm not concerned. I'm so in. I'm so in.
It's okay. I actually have a question about like when would be the best time for me to do it, only because I know I work out in the morning. And I found if I have a protein drink, I do spin, and spin is really, really high intensity. And if I don't eat, I would get faint when I'm done.
Yes.
Could you do it reverse? Like, say if I stopped eating like at say 4 p.m. or whatnot, and that was the majority of your fasting would be from the evening to the morning.
Sure.
And then you have,
Or just
does it work
we
each
just
way?
talking about how it works.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have to like say fast in the morning first thing, but I could do it in reverse.
You can do it in reverse. Let me tell you why it doesn't really matter. And
Okay.
and also eventually maybe getting you to do it in the morning, not because the timing matters, because
Yeah.
we understand why. Okay. So here's how it works, right? Remember I told you the liver can make its own sugar, right?
Yeah.
So your body was designed by God or by nature, whatever you believe, to be able to survive a fast, right? There was not food all the time. We didn't have DoorDash, right? So
No
your body,
DoorDash.
no DoorDash, right? It's crazy. So here you are, primitive life, and there was no food around. You didn't go hunting. It was snow on the ground. You didn't get a meal. So the species didn't die. We went into our internal stores. Our body can go into our fat stores, and turn it into glucose, right? Fancy word for that is gluconeogenesis, if anybody wants to look it up. So it turns it into glucose, and then we use it. So you have these two ways of feeding your body. I have a sandwich, external source, or I go internally and create my own source. And ideally, we could become what's called metabolically flexible. If I have a sandwich, great. If I don't, if my machine of my body is working well, I should not be jittery between meals. I should be able to work out without passing out.
Okay.
But in the industrialized society where food is there all the time, we kind of lose the ability to do that. So between meals, we get hangry, we get jittery because it doesn't turn on. That doesn't turn on. So intermittent fasting is about reteaching your body to turn that on. So it should not happen overnight. You don't go to 16 hours overnight, okay? You don't go from eating 12 hours a day to suddenly fat, slow and steady wins the race because you're teaching your body a new skill. And if you were learning anything else, you would take time with it. So what that could look like, so question number one is, it doesn't really matter if you're going to do it from 4 till the next day and you get 16 hours, and it doesn't matter because that's 16 hours that you have not put food in your body.
Okay.
Your body is going to go into its fat stores and get it. But you may not want to go for 16 right away. You want to we don't want you fainting. You don't
That's
want
only
to
after a tough workout.
So
That's
I
only-
was
yeah,
like you.
water.
The thought of working out without eating, I thought was impossible. In fact, when I started this, I could not even work out in the morning for like a good month. But I really wanted to figure this out. And then it clicked. And then suddenly I was able to work out because then my body was like, we got this. You're not feeding us in the morning. We got it. And then we turned it on. So it looked like I pushed breakfast by a half hour for a few weeks. And then I pushed it by another hour for a few weeks. And it took me time. By the way, when we first did this in my practice, everyone was like, yeah, 16 hours, 18 hours. I was like, what? I was like 12.5, right? Because just when we say 16 hours, I want everyone listening to know that it includes nighttime. So for most people, let's say you finish eating at 7 or 8 p.m., you stop eating, you go to sleep, you wake up, you start the next day at around 10, 11, there's your 16 hours. So 16 hours includes sleeping. So it's not as terrifying as it sounds. So for most people, you can certainly opt differently. You wake up, and if you use to eat at 9, you push it to 9:30 for a while, and you push it to 10. Before you know it, you get to 11. And there's something magical that happens when you get over that hump of like, oh my God, I'm never going to make it. So you take it slow, and you should be able to even do one workout on a fasting eventually.
Okay.
Yeah. But if it triggers you, and I do have clients who do get triggered by this, of course, don't do anything that triggers you. And if it's easier for you to do at the end of the day, you're still winning.
All right. So people out there, if you're trying to do either way, you're still winning.
You're still winning. You're winning just if you're trying, you're already winning.
Right.
Yes.
You're winning.
I remember a woman one time when I was telling her, I was like, yeah, like I'm on a diet. I just thought like everybody was on a diet because I always was. And she was like, oh, I didn't even know you were trying. And I was like, I'm always trying.
Always trying.
I'm always trying. I try and fail, but I get back up again. So
That's all we could do.
Yes.
That's all we can do.
That's all we could do is try.
Hey, Plus-Siders. We're so glad that you were able to tune in for part 1 of the episode. Part 2 will be posted next week. We look forward to seeing you then. Have a great week. And remember, you're not alone. It's not your fault. Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sides, Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.